Before you do your chapter translation for chapter 4 this week, I want to talk to you about the predicate nominative, because the predicate nominative is something you're going to need to know. Now, the predicate nominative exists both in English and in Latin. And you know what a nominative is because you just learned about nouns. You were just introduced, and the nominative means it's the subject of the sentence. It is a Latin noun case. We also use the word in English in the phrase the predicate nominative. So nominative is the same thing as the subject of the sentence. But what's interesting in English and in Latin is the predicate. We know what the subject is. The predicate is basically the verb and everything that follows. So is a dragon, is a monster, was a police officer, could have been, that's part of the verb phrase, somebody, and then in Latin, est rex and est nauta. So everything else, the monster, the dragon, I, Andrea, nauta, which is sailor, rex, which is king, that's the nominative, that's the regular subject. Now, the part I have highlighted in green is called the predicate. But sometimes the nominative appears also, or a nominative appears also in the predicate. And anytime that's going to happen, it uses something called a linking verb. And in English, it's any of the to be verbs plus some others, but right now we're just going to do the to be verb. In Latin, it's a to be verb you're going to learn shortly. It's called sum, esse, fui, futurum. In English, it would be forms of am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been. In Latin, the two that you're going to need to know this week is est, which means he, she, it is. So you pick one of those, right, depending on the context of the sentence. You don't do all three. And sunt, which means they are. So in this first sentence, the monster is a dragon. This would be the nominative or the subject. So you've known nominatives as the things that do the action. They can also be the thing that is in a state of being, which means it's the to be verb. So every time you see a state of being verb, you're going to put an equal sign underneath it, because a linking verb acts like an equal sign. It tells me whatever is on one side, just like in a math equation, has to be on the other side. So what I see is the monster is a dragon. The dragon is a monster. Monster and dragon, they're not the same word, but they're renaming. I'm renaming a monster as a dragon. So I could switch these two and they work perfectly well as the subject or in the predicate. So what you see is the monster here is the subject, but also this is called the dragon is also called the predicate nominative. And in Latin, you just have to also label that as a nominative because it's a word that we already use. So here you would label dragon as the nominative and monster as a nominative. And guess what? They would have the same nominative ending. So I've told you you can never have two nominatives in sentences unless there's an and in between. Here you can with a predicate nominative. So I is the subject in the English. Somebody is the predicate nominative in the English. Or if we were doing Latin, they'd both be nominative. Here, Andrea is the subject in English, and police officer is the predicate nominative. Both of these in Latin would be considered the nominative. So let me do this with another color here. Nauta est rex. So nauta, you know already, means sailor, and it is the nominative. Here we have a linking verb right here, est. That's a linking verb. Remember up here it says he, she, it is, nauta, so we'll call he. And rex means king. You're going to learn that in your glossary. And it also is a nominative. So you would label those both as nominative singular. They do have to match, both in gender, case, and number. So I could flip them, and these both are still nominative singulars. And I would say here the sailor is king. Or I could say the sailor is a king if you wanted to. And here I could flip it and say the king is a sailor. I am saying both the things. They are equal. King and sailor are equal. I'm just renaming them. So you're going to need to know that in order to do your chapter reading. So when we go down, now did you notice I didn't say the sailor, he is a king? Because that's not good English. If there is a separate nominative, and in this case there is, all I use is the exact verb, which is or are. I don't say the kings, they are sailors. That's not proper English. Make it make good sense. Okay, let's go to your chapter reading. I'm going to do the first 4 for you, and then you are going to do the last 4. So I show you how this works. It's pretty easy. You don't have to label these. You can just read them and write them down if you want in English. So when you look at your chapter reading, it's entitled Greece and Troy. It's on page 24 if you have the version book, if not same version book. If not, it's at the end of the book. You'll see it. So Greece and Troy, and underneath is at end of the chapter, sorry. And underneath is a glossary. So it's all the words that you don't know. In the reading, they're always italicized, so you know where to look. All right, so the first one, Troia, that's one of the very first words you learned. Troia est patria. So do you remember this works like an equal sign? We know that est means is. Okay? So Troy is, now you know this word because you learned it, a country. Reading it like this is pretty easy. So now we've got Troy again, and we have the is. So we always come to a comma or a, and then stop right here. We're going to do these two separately. Troy, and we have est. Est means is. Remember, sunt means are, and if there's no subject, it means they are. And est means is. If there's no separate nominative, then it's he, she, or it, depending on what you want. So Troy is, and guess what in means in English? In Latin means in English, and you should be able to figure out that word. Troy is in Asia. It's exactly what it looks like. And then Troy, we have est, which is, and then we have the not. Troy is not. So usually we put the not in front of there. It wouldn't make any sense to say Troy not is. And then insula, you should know, which means Troy is not an island. Okay, let's take a look at this one. There's no to be in here. There is just a regular verb. And if you look, it is let's label it. It's a third because it's got the T ending. So it means it's third present tense singular. There is a separate nominative, rex. So if you look down in your glossary, you'll see rex means king, and this is its nominative singular form. And prismus in Latin, if you look down your glossary, means priam. So king Priam. And what does Priam do? You could say King Priam rules. You could also say King Priam is ruling. Okay, so those are your two choices. All right, so let's take a look at the last one. The last one is Hecuba. So Hecuba, if you look down, is a name of a woman. She's the queen of Troy, the wife of Priam. So Hecuba is the nominative, and if you look, you have your to be verb here again. So we know if she's the nominative, she's the subject. Then Regina, if you look, has the nominative ending, and it's also the subject. So you're just going to rename her. So Hecuba, I could spell her name right, is, what is she? She is the queen. You could also say Hecuba is queen. So very simple. You don't have to label. I labeled some of them to show you how it worked, but that is your chapter 4 reading. So you can do, based on that, I know that you can do the last 4 by yourselves, and if you have any problems, you can let me know and I'll help you.